Now that we got a new Speaker of the House after 3 weeks of a cluster F from the Republicans, the viewpoints of the Speaker of the House, Johnson, is coming out. So let's get into this a little bit. House Speaker Johnson linked mass cum cum to feminism, no fault divorce taped in a tape sermon. Legalized abortion is also part of our culpable primordial slime that's rotting our morals, Johnson told a congregation.
And things like no-fault divorce laws. We invented the sexual revolution. We invented radical feminism. We invented legalized abortion in 1973, where the state, the government, sanctions the killing of the unborn. I mean, we know that we're living in a completely amoral society. And so people say, how can a young person go into their schoolhouse and open fire on their classmates? Because we've taught a whole generation, a couple of generations now of Americans, that there is no right and wrong.
Okay, so that was Mike Johnson, but that sermon was back from 2017. Now, Johnson went on last week to attribute the mass Pum Pum in May that claimed 18 lives to a problem of the human heart rather than easy accessibility to American Pew Pew, high-powered Pew Pews. White House Deputy Press Secretary Andrew Bates snapped back last Friday. We absolutely reject that offensive accusation that Pew Pew crime is uniquely high in the United States because of American hearts. Pew Pew violence is now the main reason American children's hearts stop. These Pew Pews are creating situations where more children are being taken out. And so maybe these pro-life people should be focusing on that as well, but they don't. Johnson expounded on his theory of mass Pum Pum in a lengthy sermon in 2017 at the Christian Center of Shreveport, where he lamented the attacks erupting from the Christian nation's rotting morals and the shift in American culture. We see the encroaching darkness. Y'all can find his whole sermon on the YouTube. Johnson was a congressman at the time following his election the previous year. He blamed, in particular in his address, the countercultural revolution for America's downfall, Woodstock and drugs and free love and all that. More about the undermining of the foundations of faith and morality. As for no-fault divorce, Johnson is a big proponent of marriage forever. Marriage forever. So no leaving. Johnson and his wife Kelly hit the prominent Christian scene in the late 1990s when they went on national TV as the face of Louisiana's new marriage covenant law, which makes it harder to get a divorce. So that is a little bit about some of his views. So it should come as no shocker that he is a hardliner against reproductive rights. New House Speaker pushed for hard labors for abortion providers after the fall of Roe. The day after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade last June, Mike Johnson of Louisiana celebrated in his home state new penalties for providers. The right to life has now been restored, the Republican crowed on the Twitter on June 25th. Perform one and get imprisoned at hard labor for 1 to 10 years and fined $10,000 to $100,000. Opposition to reproductive care is virtually a job requirement for Republicans these days, but Johnson, the newly minted Speaker of the House, is a committed opponent, even by standards of his fellow conservative colleagues. Skip down to the bottom. And at a time when many Republicans in Congress are trying to quietly ignore abortion, wary of the backlash from their constituents over proliferating bans, Johnson has continued to champion an array of anti-choice bans. Since the fall of Roe, Johnson has co-sponsored a national 15-week ban, as well as bans on the most common second trimester abortion method. So he is leaning in to his rhetoric, leaning in hard, despite the fact that so many women, so many people in general are pro-choice in this country. He also co-sponsored bills to strip Planned Parenthood of federal funding, to force providers to tell women that they may be able to reverse their abortions, a claim unproven by science, and to make it a federal crime to transport a minor across state lines for a legal abortion without telling that minor's parents. Johnson backed a bill that would have established that life begins at conception. Why do we need a bill for this? This is the reason why I say we are tiptoeing into a theocracy. And this is the reason why you have got to know the different levels of politics, what is going on, these different people, because the president is literally a figurehead. It is the people in Congress and the judges that really create legislation that impacts society. Okay, so he wants to make it a bill that establishes life begins at conception and redefine fetuses as human beings. So this is who is now the Speaker of the House. Yeah, yeah. This is just wild where we are right now. In 2021, Johnson even co-sponsored a bill that would have nationally banned abortion past roughly 6 weeks of pregnancy. The bill would have allowed some abortion in the case where the woman's life is in danger due to a physical condition, but not one due to a psychological one. So that's just a little bit more about this man who folks put. He's the gavel holder. He's the one that's going to be pushing through and setting the agenda. Y'all jump in the comments and let me know what you think.